If you're watching this, you've probably already heard of relationship OCD. And if you have, then maybe like me, you're someone who struggles with this on a day-to-day basis. I don't need to tell you how debilitating it can be and how it keeps you from moving forward in a meaningful way in your romantic relationships. Now, I'm not a therapist or a licensed professional in any capacity whatsoever. I'm only talking from my own personal experience here when it comes to ROCD. But I do have a really good therapist. And in a recent conversation that I had with my therapist, she completely changed the way that I see ROCD and the way that I'm tackling my recovery. But first, a little backstory. So I've been diagnosed with other forms of OCD in my life, but I didn't realize I had relationship anxiety until really my mid to late 20s. I started noticing that no matter how good my relationships are, I tend to doubt and overthink and ruminate on, is this the right relationship for me? Is this person the one? And all these kind of big existential questions that keep me from really being able to actually be present in the relationship and move any kind of relationship forward in a significant way. So what does our OCD look like? For me, it looks like constantly having this like nagging voice in the back of your head that says, this isn't quite right, or there's something better out there. It can be late nights Googling on Reddit, why does blah 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 happen? If this happens, does that mean blah 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 blah? And like trying to literally get answers to questions that nobody can answer for you because the answer is within yourself. And then there's also like a cycle that repeats where I start to ruminate a lot and my entire vision of the world is like clouded with this anxiety and this like relentless, like, you need to do something about this, you need to do something about this, you need to do something about this and then I'll tell my partner or I'll break up with my partner, something really big and dramatic that probably didn't even need to happen. And then as soon as I've done that, there's like this relief that just like floods over me and I'm like, oh my God, like, and it goes away. And that's the compulsion part of OCD, because that's me feeding into this ruminating, obsessive thought, getting the relief that my brain is craving, and then the cycle starts over. So it slowly starts to build up and up and up again until I do this thing, because I always feel like my intuition or something is nagging at me. I also happen to have a fearful avoidant attachment style, and I don't know if those always go hand in hand with ROCD, but it makes pretty good sense that my brain is kind of finding a way to push people away and push relationships away because they feel uncomfy. And if you're new to this or you're unfamiliar with this concept, you might be thinking, well, what if it just is the wrong relationship? Or maybe you have ROCD too, because that is also another big part of it, is being like, well, how do I know if it's ROCD or if this is actually the wrong relationship for me? So the first thing that your ROCD might be trying to tell you is that there actually are legitimate red flags in your relationship. I think ROCD are little red flags, or at least little yellow flags that are popping up because of something real, like a real issue, a real thing that's not sitting right with you in the relationship, or like a dynamic that actually needs to be addressed. I think there are real things that are coming up, but instead of a normal person just like hearing that and being like, oh, we need to talk about this or we need to do something about this, our mind sort of spirals out of control and makes it into like a catastrophic event or thing, and that the whole relationship is wrong. And so instead of asking, is this ROCD or is the whole relationship wrong, maybe recognizing that the ROCD is being triggered by actual things, actual discomforts, actual triggers, and maybe problems that need to be addressed in the relationship. The second thing your ROCD might be telling you is that you're out of alignment or incongruent with yourself, your values, and what you want in a relationship. Now, here's where the breakthrough with my therapist comes in. As we were discussing the topic in one of my most recent sessions, she mentioned that what if ROCD actually has nothing to do with the other person, if they're right for you, or anything about them really at all? And what if it has everything to do with how congruently I'm living my life, how aligned I am in my values, and whether or not I'm expressing those needs in my relationship and vocalizing what I need? Even though I've considered this thought before, that maybe it isn't as much about them as it is about me, what was groundbreaking about it this time was that in recent years, I've come into a new radical, honest authenticity with myself. And so this felt much more accessible, and I felt like, okay, this is something I can actually control. Like, so much of OCD feels really out of control, right? And so this is something that I can measure, that I can journal about, that I can ask myself, you know, what's out of alignment here? What needs am I not expressing? Is there stuff going on that I'm kind of like turning a blind eye to? This gives me something really tangible that I can turn around and use on myself instead of always pointing the finger at my partner or making it about them. Now, is it easy to vocalize my needs and express what I want in a relationship? No. Is it easy to make sure that I'm aligned and congruent and ask for what I need? Hell no. But at least I have something to work towards. Being brutally honest in my romantic relationships has never been easy for me. I'm a people pleaser. I grew up thinking that I was high maintenance. That was like my nickname as a kid. And so I just genuinely feel like I am putting someone out if I ask for literally anything. So this is something I'm having to relearn in adulthood. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a correlation between people pleasing and like ROCD, or this type of like, just kind of like squashing your needs and making yourself smaller to not rock the boat, right? Like, rocking the boat feels so scary for me, which is dumb because ROCD ends up rocking the boat anyways, right? So like, it's almost like, instead of rocking the boat a little bit here and there, all my rocky boatness just like builds up over a longer period of time, and then it results in a bigger conversation or a fight or a breakup. And I'm starting to think it just doesn't need to get there if I can just express those little things here and there, have little moments of brutal honesty. Sometimes I do it messy and imperfect, and sometimes I do it just plain wrong. But as long as I keep learning from those mistakes and trying to do better, I think I'm headed in the right direction. I have a really good friend, Brian Perry, who you might have heard on my podcast. You can check that out here. He's extremely wise, just like a mentor and friend of mine. And he says, if I'm not fully and honestly showing up as me, we are fundamentally not in relationship. You are in a relationship with who I think you want me to be, not with me. I think this is an amazing way to think about being in a relationship with someone. If you're not expressing and being your true self, then you cannot fundamentally be in relationship with another person. They're not in relationship with you. They're in relationship with only what you're showing, what you're giving them. It's pointless to put all this effort into a relationship if you're not being your authentic self. And sometimes we don't know who our authentic self is yet, and we're just figuring it out, and that's okay too. But if you can cultivate uncovering and being brutally honest with yourself so that you can be brutally honest with others, I think that can set you on a path where you'll be in right relationship with other people and with yourself. And the third and final thing that your ROCD could be telling you is that your mind is making stories instead of feeling feelings. The last strategy I'll leave you with that has really helped me a lot lately is to say to myself in these times, I can feel these feelings and not create a story about them. It's so easy to feel some kind of way and then create and spin up a story in your mind about what that thing means. But feelings don't have to actually mean anything at all, and sometimes they really don't. So ask yourself next time you're triggered in your relationship if I can feel this feeling without making a story about it. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you struggle with ROCD, like I said, please find a qualified therapist if at all possible. But if not, maybe some of these strategies and things that I've learned can help you navigate that just a little bit better.